Power on. Welcome to the Jaguar I-Pace. I love gasolina. I like V8 engines. I like noise and power and fury and flames and combustion and all that good stuff. I am also not an idiot. Not a complete idiot, at least. I know that electricity and electrified vehicles are our future. That's just the way love goes. For years now, this segment has been dominated by Tesla. They're making technically good vehicles with a few issues here and there. We won't get into that though. Well, we will a little bit. Tesla is building cars with tremendous range. They're vehicles that have sparked a general interest in EVs amongst the car buying public across the world. And that's huge, and that will never be denied. Tesla is a pioneering company in this space, no doubt about it. The regular automakers that existed before Tesla are now playing catch up. Some of them, though, have been building really good EVs for a few years now, but everybody's blinded by the light and glory of oh holy Elon Musk. Cars like this, and this is a Jaguar I-Pace, are going to help shift that a little bit and create more battle and competitiveness in the EV segment. And this is a very good thing because it means Tesla is going to have to get their shit together once all the automakers are armed and ready for battle. Jaguar is one of the first luxury automakers to fully dip its toe into the water here. Yes, BMW has done it too with the i3 and the i8. And now Jaguar is doing it in the crossover space. I guess this is a pseudo crossover. And this is also a very good thing because crossovers are what appeals to people right now. What are we dealing with? Well, the I-Pace uses a pair of electric motors, one for the front axle, one for the rear axle, which, yes, that makes this all-wheel drive. Combined power output is 394 horsepower and a very impressive 510 pound-feet of torque. And as you can already guess, that is available right at the get-go. It is awesome. It is so much fun. It'll put a smile on the face of even the most hardened gas-only enthusiast out there. You put them in the driver's seat, put it into dynamic mode, and let them hammer the throttle from a dead stop, watch them get pushed into the seat back. It's fantastic, it's fun, and it doesn't get old. And that's part of the appeal of EVs, that they are good for the environment in terms of their zero emissions. They're quiet, they're not going to annoy your neighbors, and they're fun. They're surprisingly fun, especially when you pair that power output with this wide, low footprint that this has. This vehicle is not as long as you think, but it's wider and lower than you think it is, maybe in pictures if you haven't seen one in person or at an auto show or what have you. I haven't seen one on the road, and that's a shame. I don't know how well they're selling, but I'm expecting to see more of them. And then Mercedes is following suit with the EQC. Audi has its e-tron just over the horizon. And then BMW is already refining its i3 and i8 to add future generations to those vehicles. On the standard car side, Hyundai has a kick-ass vehicle in its Kona Electric. That thing is really good, and it has really good range. I think it's EPA rated at 258, and that's solid. This is a little disappointing. It came in just under what Jaguar expected. They thought it would be 240 miles of range, and it's like 238 or 234 or something like that, which is the same as an entry-level Tesla Model X 75D, and then this is $10,000 cheaper than that, and I think it's nicer inside. This is more of a luxury vehicle where Teslas are very Spartan inside, and the Tesla fanboys wear that as a badge of honor. It's just got what it needs. The iGiant iPad controls everything, and that's all that you need. No, this has a very lovely Meridian surround sound system. It has, Jaguar's infotainment is sluggish. There's no denying that, but it gives you all of the information you want. The seats in this car are fantastic. These are like race buckets up front, and then there's room for your kid seat in the back, and then there's room in the rear trunk. I put plenty of stuff in there. There's a front trunk, a frunk, if you want to throw like a small bag or something up front. There's a little bit of room there, but the rear hatch is pretty solid. Now, pricing. Let's dive into pricing on this thing. I feel like the one I'm driving is a bit too expensive. So the only model you can get right now in the US is the 400 all-wheel drive. I-Pace 400, 394 horsepower, 400. That's where they get the model name. That's the only one you can get right now. And then there's different trim lines. There's an S, an SE, an HSE, and then there was a first edition, which is probably still for sale. I'm not sure. The base price is $69,000, and you get a very nice vehicle for that. You can choose between a few options. You can get some of the options available on the higher trim vehicles down into a base model, but then you're just pricing it up anyway. But it is nice that you could swap in for the premium LED daytime running lights, the nicer seats, bigger wheels, and all that stuff. The base car comes with 18s, and then you move on up to 20s and 22s. This one is wearing 20s. The 22s would absolutely be overkill. And I actually like the base wheel. Go online, actually I'll put a picture of it. The base entry-level wheel is a very cool multi-spoke wheel. So this is a top trim, if you forget about the first edition for a moment, this is a top trim HSE and it's pretty fully loaded, and it is $89,000. And that feels like a ton of money for a compacty, mid-sizey. This has to be a compact because the car's so big these days. Yeah, that's comparable room-wise to my CX-5. So that feels like a ton of money. I feel like this should stay in the $65,000 range because it is still nice inside. It is still a Jaguar. It's still a fancy vehicle. It looks cool on the outside, though I know looks are going to be polarizing factor on this. Certain angles, the butt is a bit too high, but down low up front, the nose is kind of badass. It's got the Jaguar Grille in face, though that grille is not necessary here. It does have some cool aerodynamic bits where there's the scoop in the front of the frunk that draws air up, you know, from the road, keeps it low over this very cool glass roof. This is seriously a cool piece. And then down out through that rear spoiler and out over the rear deck lid. It's a neat bit of trick of aero there, but I really like the face. I like the front 3/4 angle. And then at the rear is where things get a little bit funky. I mean, if you think a Model X looks better than this though, you are cuckoo bananas crazy. And now you can also put stuff on the roof because this doesn't have Falcon doors, it has normal doors. That's a plus for me because I threw my mountain bike up there over the weekend. So how does it drive though? That's important. This is an EV, which means the center of gravity is nice and low. And that means you get solid driving dynamics. It's still a Jaguar. It still deserves to wear the leaper. With all that torque, it's just a blast. These 20-inch wheels are wide, they're Goodyears. And then the brakes are really good on this thing. I've been driving it in dynamic mode because I like having all the power. And then I put regen, you can set it at low or high. Low is normal, it feels like a fairly normal vehicle, like any modern hybrid vehicle you've driven. High, it's far more aggressive and you can totally do one pedal driving with it. I'm gonna take my foot off the gas now. And we're slowing. It works really well. You can set up for corners by letting off the gas and having it brake for you a bit. And so now I'm not using the brake pedal at all. There's a red light in front of me. A Prius with a Thule box on the roof is coming to a stop, and I'm stopping short of them. I could have stopped I left like 30 feet between us, and that's all because of the high regen. And once you have a vehicle with 238 miles of range, if this is your daily driver, you're not gonna have to worry about range anxiety. I haven't even plugged this in overnight at my house because I just don't have the system to do so. I haven't been testing EVs because I don't have a proper place to plug them in at home, but I've been thinking about the range, and I'm like, you know what? There are level 3 fast chargers out there now. I'll just spend 30, 40 minutes at one and we'll be good to go. And that's what I've done. Problem is, can you find a level 3? There's tons of level 2s. They're everywhere. And me not knowing that much about EVs, like a dope, I first plugged into a level 2 and the time to full recharge, there's a graph that shows you how long it's gonna take right here. And it said 10 hours or something like that. I was like, I don't think I'm at the right charger. So I pulled up the ChargePoint app on my phone and I was clearly at a level 2 like a buffoon. I found the level 3. There's some issues occasionally though where the ChargePoint charger would read faults and error codes, and so I had to leave it and come back later in the day. But with the ChargePoint app, people can review the different charging stations, and there's a bunch of people say, yeah, this one sucks, or this one's broken, or this one is great, this one has Wi-Fi, it's really cool user-driven info behind each charging station that is really helpful to an EV driver. I could totally see rocking one of these as a daily driver, 100%. I don't have a big commute I literally get up and walk upstairs. That's my commute. This wouldn't work for my wife though, because she puts a lot more miles on a vehicle. Though if we're getting close to the range amount where an EV would work. I like this a lot. I don't like the price. I feel like it's 20 to 30 grand too high. I may be wrong. The entry level one makes sense at 69, but then you're not immediately getting the cool looking headlights and the upgraded. You get a Meridian sound system, but not like the Meridian. There's a higher spec Meridian sound system. You still get the same infotainment. You still get I think all the climate control is the same. The roof's the same. You can opt up to these cooler seats, so there are things you can do to make it the vehicle you want. But again, at 89, it just feels high. I know it's a Jag, but that's the thing with Jags is they've always been more smartly priced than the competition. People look at Audi, BMW, Mercedes, and Lexus as well, and you look at a comparable Jag, and a Jag is $10,000 to $20,000 less. I love the XJ for that reason, because it's such a badass big sedan, and it's so much less. It's so much cheaper than an S-Class 7 Series and an AA. Driving this car too, it's really well put together. An EV can expose rattles and shakes and all that stuff, and the only rattle I'm getting is from my parking garage button, which is the one that's, I never notice it making noise in other cars, but here it's driving me kind of nuts. But the rest of the car is clearly buttoned up and well put together. That's a huge plus right there. There's not a ton of wind noise. It's buffeted around you. You don't really hear it. The blinker seems louder than it should be, and I think it's probably just a standard Jag blinker sound, but it's louder because this car's so quiet, which is an odd engineering quirk problem to try to fix. But those are the things you need to worry about as you put together an EV. And then you just, oh my God, that torque. It's so awesome flooring it. It's just such a wave of torque. It's so different than how gas torque builds. Again, one pedal driving, foot off the gas, don't need to touch the brake. I'm curious if it's enough decel to trip the brake lights. I don't know. I have to check with Jag on that, and I'll put up an answer here. But I'm stopped. You can turn creep on and off, so you can have the vehicle creep forward on its own, like a gas or like a combustion car, or turn it off. I've turned it off right now, so I'm just sitting here, no foot on either pedal, ready to rock. I really like this car. I can't wait to see what Mercedes does. I can't wait to see what Audi does with their vehicle. I already told you that the Hyundai is really good if you're shopping in this segment. If you can have fun toys and have EVs, we can, as enthusiasts, we don't need to just go, no, can't have electric vehicles. That's not the case here. This will show you the light. Once you step on a vehicle that has 510 pound-feet of torque available from 0 RPM, a light bulb goes off in your head, and the steering feel is great, and the CG is low, and the brakes are really good. Regen brakes have come so far since first gen Pre-i. This is a good vehicle. My quibble with it is the infotainment is laggy, which is in every Jag. It's not an I-Pace problem, and that the price feels too high, and that's it. And you could say the price feels too high about pretty much every new car on the road, except the Veloster N. That is priced perfectly. What are you? A4 Cabrio with a wing and stickers. That is, you definitely do not see those every day. What's up, Model S? Model S. I'm going to use 510 pound-feet of torque to merge into traffic because I need to make an opening. And you can do that when you have thrust. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff. So, Jag, EV, gas torque. That was my nickname in college. No, that's a weird fart joke that is, I don't know, didn't really work for me. When I got, the other day I was driving it and I was getting a little bit low on e-juice. So I wanted to get to one of those level 3 chargers, but I had to run an errand with my daughter before doing so. GoPro died. No, I won't tell the story. Yeah, I'll tell the story anyway through audio because my mic is still going. So I put it into Eco and set the regen to high, and I ran a couple errands and I didn't lose miles. I think I gained a mile, and gaining a mile while you're driving an EV is such an exciting feeling, like gaining power back. That's something you could never do in a gas vehicle. You're not gonna coast down a hill and be like, oh, I generated a gallon of gasoline. Like that's impossible, that's never gonna happen. But with an EV in the right driving situation, you can gain some mileage just in the way you're driving the car. You can gain power. That's awesome, and that's fun, and it's part of what makes this an enjoyable driving experience. So there you go.